had some really good stuff come up as we were talking about Emily. Of course, this is a woman who's been hurt. She's been betrayed. So you're going to want to try to spend some time, win her trust, encourage her. We talked about the fact that it'd be best to have a woman deal with her, or a husband and wife together, if possible, whenever possible. Speak to her about the love of God. And she's been betrayed, and the love of man has failed her, but the love of God will never fail us. Amen. So we talked about that, John 3:16, that little 2-letter word. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life. We need to share the love of Christ with her, lead her to the Lord, if at all possible, if she's not saved. We talked about the verse in the book that we used dealing with fear, Isaiah 41:10. And also 41:13. It talks about the fact that the Lord will hold our hand. He'll hold our hand. He'll be with us. He's going to take us through this life. What an awesome verse that is. And then the subject came up, about her anger. She's obviously angry, and her fear is probably driving her anger. But forgiveness of others is going to be essential for this young lady. And some verses there, Mark 11:25 and 26. And then provision, worrying about provision for her and her daughter. And we threw out the verses there, Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me. God's going to be her strength. But 4:19 tells us he's also going to be her provision and supply all her need. And the fact was also brought up about the need for communication. As hard as it is, she needs to be able to bring herself to a place through forgiveness to communicate with her ex for her daughter's sake. And then family members, grandparents, that kind of thing. There are people who can be there for her and be a help network. She doesn't have to be alone in it, but it's going to take her having some forgiveness and the strength to be able to move forward, let God do that for her. Psalm 91, speaking of God's watch care for her. And then we ended up with talking about helping this lady with practical resources. Find out in your area what's available. And she spent 9 years in the Army. What Army resources? In our area, we have the Augusta Warrior Project. We have women veterans of the CSRA, for example. There are resources out there that we can point her to. That can help her meet some needs, some practical needs. So we minister to the spiritual, and we also realize she has practical needs that need to be met.
We had a couple different things that, because we spent a lot of time on Emily, and we got fussed at because of that. But we figured she needed a lot of help. We tossed around a couple ideas, basically not knowing exactly what her needs are. Basically, with that, you don't know if she's saved. But this is where, as the church, once you have become aware of her needs, we kind of came up with a 4-step process. And you, not knowing where she is, sometimes you can't just hit her with God, because you have to listen first, listen and learn, and don't just go off thinking you understand the situation, but listen to her and learn from that. And then let her know that you love her. Let her know that you're there for her, that you care about her, but that you love her no matter what, and that you're there to help. And then look for ways to help, whether that's practically, as was mentioned, getting her food, getting her, helping her find a job if she hasn't had one, or figuring out where and how you can help. But look for ways, and the way you're going to find that is by listening to her. And then fourthly, we came up with was to lead her. Ultimately, if she's not saved, you want to lead her to Christ, but lead her in the path of forgiveness, as was mentioned. Lead her to, and as you're looking for ways to lead her, you will see, you have to repeat the cycle again. You have to listen some more. And we commented you may hear something a second time around if she talks about her husband again or whatever, that, oh, wow, that opened up something new. I didn't realize there was, that emotion or whatever. And so as you may have to repeat and to listen, learn, love her, and look for ways to help and lead. And this is where, the church needs to be the church and step up for help.